Do you trust the government to regulate the internet?
Absolutely.
Boy, here we go.
You trust the people that got us into the Iraq war under false pretenses to regulate the internet?
I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here.
Do you think that makes any sense?
Well, wait a minute. I would not. The people who got us into the Iraq war
It's the government.
was the politicians.
It's the government.
In the end, yes, it's the government. But who else is going to regulate?
But if they're going to
Joe,
be in power and they're regulating the internet, they're going to regulate the internet in a way that suits their best interests.
No,
The same way they do with the banking industry, the same way they do with the environment, the same way they do with energy, the same way they do with everything.
Outstanding.
There was an actual era when Rolling Stone magazine was something cool. It covered, punk rock and music and rock and roll without being kind of like a wet blanket. But those eras were probably like the early 90s. Long time ago. And only mostly recently, by the way, they've just become another leftist media shill misinformation outlet. Rolling Stone publishing several monstrously incorrect articles over the past couple of years in their panic to stay relevant by peddling TDS to a TDS hungry nation between the eras of 2015, 2020. But now that that's gone, all that's left for Rolling Stone is to basically just lie. And now it would appear that their creator has come out in favor of government-controlled censorship on the internet. And it didn't go very well when he was talking to Joe Rogan about it. Not at all. So let's get into that article. Actually, a clip, too. By the way, if you haven't yet, please do head on over to thequartering.locals.com. Please follow me there. Speaking of censorship, it's important that I have a way to contact you. I am moving away from Twitter and Facebook and everything, relying exclusively on two areas, both Locals and my Gilded. I've linked my local. This is a way you can talk to me directly at any time. I see your comments, and it's obviously free to follow me here. Please do join me here. It's exceedingly important, and it's going to get more important, as I suspect it won't be long before even milquetoast people like me get removed from the internet. Now we're doing an article by an excellent person, Christian Toto, Joe Rogan School's Rolling Stone founder, on government censorship. By the way, make sure you follow me on Locals by the end of the day. I've got another giveaway, and when we pass 10,000, hopefully that will be Tuesday or Wednesday this week. What a drag it is getting old, Jagger crooned in the Rolling Stones' Mother's Little Helper. It's not just the aches and pains that aging brings. By the way, this is in HollywoodandToto.com. It's how some, as they get older, betray their core principles. Howard Stern, the former Prince of Free Speech, now broadcasts from his germ-free home, where he ignores the cancel culture fights defining our age. Rebel rocker Neil Young ranted against comedy podcaster last year when he feared that, quote, wrong information about the coof might be shared, while ignoring mainstream media outlets doing just that. Now we can add 76-year-old Jan Wenner to that list, or Jan Lenner, probably pronounced. I don't really care. He sounds like a media stooge, so screw him. The man who founded Rolling Stone magazine argued with Spotify podcaster Joe Rogan recently about the need for government censorship. Wenner is for it all. Rogan, who sees the censorial tide washing over Western culture, stands against it. Rolling Stone magazine once stood for 60s era counterculture, free speech, man, and down with the man. That Rolling Stone no longer exists. Now let me just tell you, as an aside, some of the articles Rolling Stone has printed in the past couple of years. Here's one. Rolling Stone's botched story about a coof pill raises questions about, quote, what is misinformation? If you remember, the Rolling Stone essentially published an absolute lie that hospital waiting rooms were overrun from people having apple-flavored horse paste, and that hospitals were leaving people with like lead injections and missing limbs sitting in the waiting room. They published that as fact. Of course, it was never true. their quote-unquote source didn't even work at that hospital. Rolling Stone faced plenty of criticism of his article, saying GSW victims left waiting as horse paste ODs overwhelms Oklahoma hospital. Doctor says after a local hospital rejected the doctor's claim. The article quoted Dr. Jason McKellier, who don't really care, who told Oklahoma City-based KFOR that the rise in people using an overwhelmed emergencies rooms at rural hospitals, which were so backed up, they were having hard times getting a facility. Of course, it was completely false. Of course, who can forget the maybe their most heinous article that they ever printed about the campus. I don't know how to really say this in a family-friendly way, but the one of the worst crimes a man can do to a woman, I'll say, they printed it as fact, ruined people's lives. It, of course, was also false. So, I mean, to hear about this clown, and by the way, he gets absolutely destroyed by Rogan. You used to have a founder of Rolling Stone wants the government to regulate the internet.
To regulate the internet?
Absolutely.
You trust the people that got us into the Iraq war under false pretenses to regulate the internet? Do you think that makes any sense?
Well, wait a minute.
And by the way, he sticks to this position. And I will tell you this, now more than ever, when someone tells you who they are, listen. That's who these people are. You see, scratch a progressive on the surface, underneath you'll find an effing idiot. Every effing time. It's so embarrassing. Rolling Stone have been establishment, especially far left shills, for years now. Rolling Stone once was the exemplar of cool and free. Now it's the diametric opposite. See, also Rage Against the Machine. That's very true. Let's not forget that Rolling Stone were not the first ones. Were the first ones to put out the ridiculous story of the horsey paste. It's like he's totally out of it. It's like when people get old and they get money, they forget and they just want someone else to handle it all for them. I really don't know any other way to describe it. It's such a weird thing to see. He continues, the current model is on board with the woke revolution, supports cancel culture. Consider the magazine's tone when it comes to Dave Chappelle, savage for telling jokes about the trans community. It couldn't be more clear where Rolling Stone comes down on the matter. Wenner made the point obvious during the Rogan chat. The two discussed the internet and social media, leading to a curious exchange about regulation. Rolling Stone founder wants Biden to oversee, quote, he absolutely trusts the government here, ignoring all the chicanery currently going on with the government overreach. Of course, Biden colluding with big tech to silence conservative voices. Biden proposing a misinformation board. Biden sicking the Justice Department on parents, and so much more. Rogan shared why his proposal is dangerous for the country. Quote, if they're going to be in power and they're regulating the internet, they're going to regulate the internet in a way that suits their best interest. The same way they do with the banking industry, the same way they do with the environment, the same way they do with energy, the same way they do with everything. And he's 100% right. And that's just, I mean, that's the fact of the matter. It's like, this dude is like, why don't you just move to China, bro? It sounds like that's what you want. The podcaster spoke on behalf of free speech, fearing the impact of corporate interests may have on it. Wenner still demands big government put its thumb down on the web. Quote, but there's no way to do that except for the government. There's no way you can do that except through the government. Human nature's not going to change, he said. Quote, but governments aren't going to change either, Rogan added. But the government is capable of change, the media shill. Two concepts jump out from the exchange. One, Wenner's total trust in the government. Did he feel that way when he started Rolling Stone magazine? How about 2+ years ago when a certain real estate mogul lived in the White House? Will Wenner hold that option? Should Republican Governor Ron DeSantis take the presidential oath in 2025? If not, isn't there a problem with his worldview? More importantly, why does Wenner fear the free flow of information? He's not alone, alas. Hollywood is mostly silent and censorial forces in the modern age. Journalists routinely decry figures like Elon Musk who want more speech, not less. Saturday Night Live the premier comedy platform of our time, loathes Musk for that very reason. I mean, it's one of the slime balliest things
To
I've
regulate
ever
the
seen.
internet.
Absolutely.
You trust the people.
Politicians.
It's the government.
In the end, yes, it's the government. But who else is going to regulate?
But if they're going to
Joe,
be empowered,
Nobody, bro. But who else is going to regulate it? Nobody. Nobody should be regulating the internet. Nobody should be regulating people's speech online. In this lunatic's mind, by the way, who got absolutely demolished by Joe, censorship is not something like you discuss, like whether it should be or not. He absolutely believes people's speech should be censored. It's people like him that are making me, even though Elon looks like he's going to complete his purchase on Twitter, it's why I've pushed so hard at locals. It's why I can't, why I'm like so annoyingly trying to push people over there. Like, I have about 100,000 to 150,000 kind of like regular voices that watch my stuff every day. If I could even get half of you to come here, we would do so much amazing stuff. We really would. And without the fear, the same fears as being censored on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or even here on YouTube or wherever you're watching the videos. So I'm hoping that people will, of course, follow me at thequartering.locals.com. I'll leave it in the pinned comment. Take the 2 minutes it takes today to create an account. Follow me there. We're going to do some fun stuff, I promise you. And of course, it's free. So there's that. And I also linked in my locals today the link to my Gilded, which is a live chat that's obviously also free and open to all my viewers. And I hope to see you in there. We'll definitely be talking about this tonight, almost certainly. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.